Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool arcade game repair video for you this evening. Today we have Tekken Tag. I think I found out what's wrong with it. It's broke. So I bought this about 6 months ago at an auction. And it's been patiently waiting over here for me to get to it. But I think today is the day. I'm going to try to get it all back together and working. So at the auction, it was pretty much sitting just like this at the auction. But they did plug it in, and I believe it was working, but it was about 6 months ago. But look what they did to me on the wiring. Come on now. So that'll be fun to figure out. What usually happens is they probably straight wired this without any connections, and then they probably had to get it out of a door that was too small, so they had to take the control panel off, and they unhooked all the wires to get it out. So now I got to put the control panel back on, figure out where all the wires go, and then I'll put connectors on them. You should have connectors on them whenever they're too big to go through a standard door. So you could just undo the Molex connectors, take off the control panel, go through the door, put the control panel on, and then plug in the couple connectors, and you'd be on your way. But it's got a bunch of stuff down in the bottom of it. Looks like I might have a move sheet down there. I might put that up here where it goes. Right there somewhere. Looks like it's going to have a 7000 monitor. So I'm just going to get right to it. I'm going to plug it in and see what happens. I think it was working at the auction, but we'll see. I'm sure it's got issues. That wiring is going to take me a while. I've got to change the T-molding. I'm going to have to recap and rebuild the monitor, I'm sure. I guess I should mention that this is not a dedicated Tekken Tag cabinet. Everybody was probably yelling at the screen, "That's an NBA Jam! That's a Blitz!" It's probably one of those two. It's an NBA Jam or a Blitz, because it's got the bigger control panel on it. If it would have had the smaller control panel, it could have been about anything. It could have been a Killer Instinct, a Mortal Kombat, whatever. But maybe it's still got the tag on the back. Yep. NBA basketball. So it's probably NBA Jam. I guess it could have been that sports station or whatever it was, but I'm gonna guess NBA Jam. That art's probably still under there. If you wanted to take the time with some rubbing alcohol and some magic erasers, you could probably take a lot of that off. But since I'm leaving it in the Tekken Tag, I'm not going to mess with any of that. So the first thing I'm going to do, I guess we can plug it in and see what happens. See how she looks. Looks like we got power down there. Monitor's warming up. I'm hoping it'll get a little bit brighter than that. Let's see if I can turn up the contrast and brightness a little bit. Let's see. It doesn't look the greatest as right now. It does look like it's up and running. But the tube is not all that great right now. Hopefully we could turn up the flyback and the colors and it'll get a little bit brighter. But for now, I'm going to leave it alone. I want to put this control panel on there. Like so. Look at that. So that's kind of how it's going to look. You can see why they took it off now, because, you know, that's not going to fit through a standard door. But I'm going to go ahead and bolt that to the cabinet, and then I'm going to hook up all my wires, and I'm going to start from there. And we'll get back to you in a minute. Well, I noticed these joysticks, they look like they're pretty cheap joysticks. And they're not the best joysticks to begin with, and they're about worn out. So I'm going to go ahead and swap them before I start wiring it all up. There ain't no sense in wiring it and then changing the joysticks after. And I'm also going to take off the plexiglass. I just don't really like plexiglass on them, because you get all this dirt trapped underneath there that you can't get out. So I'm going to take the joysticks and the buttons out and put new joysticks and buttons in. Even these buttons look like they're about shot. I don't know if you could tell on the screen, but... And it looks like the bottom buttons are supposed to be yellow. The kick buttons are supposed to be yellow, so I'm going to swap those to yellow buttons. And we'll start wiring it up. See how it goes. I turned up my flyback a little bit. The monitor got a little bit better, but hopefully we can adjust it. But I'm not going to bother with that just yet, because I still got to put a cap kit and a flyback in it anyway. So we'll do that in a little bit. Well, I had a change of plans. I decided I better take it outside and paint it first. That way the paint will be drying while I mess with the monitor. And by the time I get the monitor done, the paint will be dry, and then I can bring it back in. So I'm going to take off all the T-molding. Not much to it. So I'm going to take the rest of it off, take it outside, paint it, and while that's drying, I'll rebuild the monitor. Got the monitor board out, and you guys know the deal. I'm just going to change all the caps. Somebody's calling. I gotta answer that. Alright, he wanted a backwards compatible PS3. I don't have one of those. Just got the regulars. So anyway, I've said this before, I'm going to change all the caps. I always change these flybacks. And you guys have seen me show this on a bunch of different videos. See that crack? And you guys saw the monitor was working. Most people would have just left the monitor the way it was. But once they start cracking like that, see how it's even cracking up? It's going that way, and this way, probably down that way. But once they start cracking like that, it's just a ticking time bomb. You really need to change it. Alright, I got the cabinet repainted. Got it back inside. Now I'm starting to work on the wiring. It's a mess. But what I like to do is I like to go ahead and get all my grounds situated. And then once you get into the test screen, you could just take whatever wire you want. Then you touch it to the always connected on one of the switches. So now I know that wire is down, one player down. So then I put that on one player down, and then I get the next wire, and then I touch it, and I ground it out on one of the cherry switches. And now I know that's one player right. Put that on one player right. Get me another wire. See what this one is. Alright, so that's the fourth button there. Well, fifth button. One player. Put that down there. That's the second button. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I get them all done. And then I'm going to put another connector on these wires. They actually already had a couple connectors on them, but somebody added some wires, so I'm going to have to put a third connector in here somewhere for these. That way you can just undo the connectors and take the panel off if you wanted to. You won't have to undo every wire like they did. So that's next. I already got my wire all cleaned up best I could. It's not perfect, but I'm kind of working with what was already there. So if you ever wanted to take off the control panel, you just undo that connector, this connector, and the other wires actually go back to the kick harness. So all you'd have to do was unplug the kick harness at the board, and all that would come off. So now the control panel you could take off very easily. So we'll check the buttons. Up, down, left, right. That button's obviously not used in Tekken Tag. See, it's not there. It's on the screen, but I don't have it. Two player, up, down, left, right. And I went ahead and put the yellow buttons in I was talking about. I got new joysticks. I took off the plexi. I think it looks a lot better without the plexiglass. So, let's see. And on this, I'm hoping I can get this monitor to look a little bit better by messing with these settings here. See, like the green's too high. Well, I could turn up the red, I guess. Yeah, you can turn up all the colors and stuff right here in this menu, and you can do it on the monitor. But Tekken is a weird game. It's kind of a dark game. Alright. I guess we'll try to put it on free play while we're in here. Alright, somebody came in. I had to help a customer, so got the monitor adjusted a little bit better. It still needs some work, but I'll wait till Ronnie comes in so he can kind of look at it and I can adjust it in the back. It's kind of hard to do with one person. I got a mirror, but it's still easier with two people. So anyway, now I'm going to skip over to some more cosmetics. We're pretty much down to cosmetics at that point. We got to put some T-molding on it. This uses a lot of T-molding. Most people sell T-molding in 20-foot sections. So you're actually going to need more than 20 feet on a game like this, because you got to go around this control panel all the way around. And there's actually two. You need two on the front of each side. So I think I'm going to go back with the yellow T-molding. I think that looks pretty good on TEKKEN tag. So that's next. And then we've got to swap the marquee light. I'm going to take that off and replace the bulb and the starter, hopefully. Alright, I got the T-molding on. I think that really helps it. Some people don't like the colored T-molding, but I really think it makes it pop. I know this one guy, every time I see him, he's always saying, "Why do you always put that colored T-molding on there?" He doesn't like it, obviously. But I got this from a good customer of ours. I didn't used to put colored T-molding on it. And about 10 years ago or so, I sold a Dig Dug to one of our customers, Shane. And I went back the next time because I sold him something else, and I noticed he had taken the black T-molding off and put the yellow T-molding on his Dig Dug that I sold him. And I just thought it looked great. So the next time I sold him a Street Fighter or something, and I took it over there, and the same thing. I went back and he had taken the regular T-molding off and put yellow T-molding on. And I just thought it looked awesome. So I started putting yellow T-molding on some games. And you kind of got to tie it in. Some games look better with blue or red or whatever. But we usually use blue, red, green. Every once in a while we'll do orange and yellow. We don't usually put black T-molding on too many things anymore. But anyway, let's see what's going on with this marquee. I've already taken the screws loose, so you take that bracket off. This comes off. Looks like it's got a screw loose. Got some black on that one side. Well, I think I'm gonna need both hands for this. It's got these little brackets that you got to take off too. Alright, well, I'm not going to be able to do it with one hand. Hold on. Alright, I got it screwed back in. I went ahead and changed the starter. And I'm going to put the light bulb in on camera because it's either going to do one of two things. It's either going to work, or it's going to come on for just a second and blow the bulb. And if it does that, we know the ballast is bad. And sometimes on these midway cabinets like this, it'll even blow the fuse in the bottom of the cabinet. So, taking a gamble here. Hopefully it'll just work. Yep. Alright, we got lucky. So I got to clean up the marquee a little bit and then we'll put that back. But yeah, I've seen it time and time again on these big midway cabinets from the 90s. Once that ballast goes bad and it starts blowing the bulb, it'll actually blow the fuse in the bottom of the cabinet. I know that sounds crazy, but it happens. So yeah, I had a guy call me one time and I told him, and he was like, "Oh no, there ain't no way." And he called me back 5 minutes later. "Yeah, you're right, the fuse was blown." But anyway, I'm going to clean that marquee, put that back on. And then we'll be down to putting locks on it. Changing those two coin door bulbs. And I'm going to adjust the monitor a little bit. And then we'll be back. Well, we got it all cleaned up. Finished up. Moved over on the store side. I think it turned out pretty good. Marquee helped it a lot. See a lot of people with their game rooms and some of the marquees are out. I think that really adds a lot to it when you got the marquee lights working. We got the move sheet installed where we wanted it. Everything works. So we're gonna leave it on free play and have it over here turned on for a few days, let all of our customers try it out. And if everything's good in a few days, we'll list it for sale. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video. We appreciate everybody that's been watching and using our Amazon links and all that good stuff. And we've had a lot of t-shirt orders lately, so that's always good. So we appreciate that too. So anyway, that's it for this one. We'll see you on the next one.